Okay, sorry for the delay. I'll call this meeting to order. This is a public meeting to deal with a couple of zoning amendments. Is that right, Jason? Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as it's printed? Sherry and Doug, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Any conflicts of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? None declared. So our first item, 4.1, the recommendation is that council receive zoning amendment application D06-2022, I guess 2022, Brown 530 County Road 27 for information, and that council consider adopting bylaw 2024 to be numbered later, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-744 as amended, 530 Main Street, Newburgh, at the February 20th regular session of council, which will follow later this evening. That's carried. Jason.
Thank you, Reeve Wise. D06-2022 is an application for zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Robert and Donna Brown. It is a property located within the hamlet of Newburgh, and we're here for a statutory public meeting to garner public input respecting that proposal. All that being said, that this application has been set in motion some time ago, and it has received Committee of Adjustment approval for the severance of the land or the subdivision of the land on June 29th, 2022. One of the conditions that the Committee of Adjustment imposed through their provisional approval was that the owners apply for a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the proposed severed and retained parcels to ensure that they're consistent with our township official plan and our county official plan. And that's primarily due to the fact that our official plan at the township level has this land holding within our hamlet boundary. It's in our village of Newburgh based on that mapping, but the property was zoned rural. So it's more of a general agricultural limited service residential zone in a rural zone. And through this application, the applicants are proposing to rezone to a hamlet residential zone that is consistent with our hamlet areas in our township. And the lot areas that are being proposed of 0.8 and 0.63 hectares are more in line or appropriate from a size perspective with what you would see in the hamlet as opposed to the rural context. There's an existing single-family dwelling on the northern portion of the property, and that's proposed to be maintained entirely located on the retained parcel that's 0.8 hectares in size. And the severed parcel that's south of the existing dwelling, fronting County Road 27 or Main Street, is the severed parcel, and it's vacant at this time and anticipated to be developed with a single-family dwelling in the future. In support of this application for a zoning bylaw amendment, the applicants have provided a hydrogeological study, and that's given the density of what's being proposed in terms of lot area, as well as the neighboring land uses, agricultural uses, of course, to the west, and more higher density residential uses to the south in the village of Newburgh itself. The hydro-G study is included. It's in our package this evening for all to review. And it confirms that there's no adverse effect from the newly severed parcel and the well that's been drilled on that severed parcel in supporting a single family dwelling. So this application for tonight's meeting has been circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. Notice was provided on site with a sign, mail outs to all the neighbors within 120 meters of the property, as well as notification provided in the Napanee Beaver. As Reeve Wise had mentioned earlier with regards to the recommendation before the committee or the council at this time, this application, should it not be contested by members of the community at this public meeting, it would proceed into our regular session meeting this evening, which starts at 6:30 p.m. with a bylaw that's been drafted for council's potential adoption. Staff have not received any public concerns to date. We've also not received any technical concerns from any external agencies such as the County of Lennox and Addington, Quinte Conservation Authority, etc. And I also understand that the owners are here this evening. They may want to provide anything further than I. I'm happy to answer any questions from a staff perspective related to this file. Thank you.
Any questions for Jason on this one? Wenda?
So the northwest corner of Newburgh has historically been problematic for residents as far as wells and water quality. And I read through the Hydro-G study, and I was surprised actually to read that study and those findings. Can you explain that to me? Because I know that that corner's not that specific corner, but that general corner has been problematic for many, many years.
Through you, Reeve Wise. Thank you, Councillor Lon. Firstly, I can't describe it to you in the detail of a hydrogeologist, of course. What I can say is I do agree or acknowledge that what is in our official plan as deemed the Newburgh constraint, essentially downstream or east of the Embry Road agricultural operation is or was noted to be an area of groundwater interest, given that substantiveness of the agricultural uses. And that policy documentation and policy set that we have in our township OP is what really a lot of what led into us requiring the applicants to complete such a study, because we didn't want to create additional lots that were in close proximity that may be negatively affected and get ourselves into an issue of further concern in the future. And as you know, we included the Hydro-G study in its fulsome detail. There was exceedances, I think, on hardness, sodium and hardness. I forget all, but those were primarily to the two exceedances. However, they're not out of what MECP considers to be permitted, and they are also proposed to be recognized on title, so that not only do the applicants of today understand those requirements of the well water, that any future owner would also be cognizant of that moving forward, should they purchase this property.
Anyone else? Yeah, just a comment on that situation, that section of Newburgh. Is that where the nitrate levels were accelerated or elevated for quite a while? I think the explanation is it's basically been 40 years, and because manure is no longer being applied at the levels that it was before, it's finally starting to subside. Otherwise, it would have showed up as a quality issue. So that's good news, really. I mean, it doesn't mean that that whole sector is now clear of that problem, but it's at least an indication that it's probably improving. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Reeve Wise, and thank you for that. Yes, the other piece I want to mention is, of course, our former official plan or previous official plan had that policy set in with respect to the Newburgh constraint. When we recently updated our official plan, we received comments from the Ministry of Environment that they essentially didn't have substantive studies completed to remove it from our policy document. So that constraint mapping and policy set was left and is still in effect in our document. In my time in Stone Mills, I've not completed a significant amount of Planning Act applications in this area, but it's studies like this that we can use in moving forward in updating policy documents like our official plan through consultation with the ministry, of course, to understand whether or not it's still applicable or not, based on, for example, what Reeve Wise spoke to just on a temporal aspect of lack of spreading and usage of agricultural operations.
Thanks, Jason. Any other comments or questions at this point? Should I ask the applicants if they have, yeah? Did you have anything to add at this point?
I think, were you wondering about the lack of water there or quality?
Yeah, it was just, there was been a nitrate concern in that area, but that didn't show up at all, so there's no issue. Yeah.
No, my parents were drinking it all their life, my grandparents too.
Yeah, so it's good water, yeah. In that case, if there's no further comment, yes. Yeah, I should ask any public comment from you three fellas? No, that's great. So we have a motion on the floor to receive and move this on to the regular meeting. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item is DOS 2023 storing 61 Inglesby Road. Recommendation is that council receive zoning amendment application D08 2023 storing 61 Inglesby Road for information purposes. Can I get a mover and seconder to put this on the floor, please? Wendy and Rob. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you, Reeve Wise. This application is a zoning bylaw amendment application D08 2023, consistent with what was alluded to through the previous, in the sense that this is a statutory public meeting. We're here at this evening's meeting to understand if there's any public concern, question, comment related to the proposal. This is the first public meeting, statutory public meeting that relates to this application, unlike the previous. This application for zoning amendment has been submitted concurrently with a severance application, and the severance application is for a proposed lot addition to essentially increase the size of an undersized waterfront lot on the south shore of White Lake. The subject property is addressed as 380D Inglesby Road, and that's a private road that extends essentially parallel to White Lake. And the property owner, Joan Storing, owns a significantly sized land holding south of this private lane that is proposing to sever a portion and add it to the undersized parcel fronting White Lake, so that in the future, the applicant may, for example, be able to construct a garage, an accessory structure. They may, if needed, to locate a septic system or a well on that other side or the south side of the private road, Inglesby Road. So essentially, what this application for zoning amendment is proposing to do is ensure that the waterfront property and the proposed lands to be added to the waterfront property are consistent in zoning. Right now, they're not. The south side of the road is on a rural, is an RU, a rural zone, that applies to the whole of a large parcel, whereas the north side, the waterfront existing parcel, is a residential limited service zone, an RLS zone, given the fact it doesn't have frontage on a public road. It's just on a private lane. So this application essentially is to consolidate and harmonize the zoning to ensure that it's not split zoned, which causes confusion when trying to review applications for, say, a garage or any future development on site. As mentioned, the consent application for lot addition, B67 2023, has not proceeded yet to committee of adjustment. It's just with the sense of timing, this application had the ability to hit a council meeting for public input. So we're here this evening to garner that. We're not proposing to make any decisions this evening at a subsequent meeting, regular session of council. We are looking for input only. And again, the notice was provided to the neighbors on site and in the newspaper as it relates to this file. So I'm happy to answer any questions, Reeve, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions or comments from council initially? Any comments from the public? Any objections? There's nothing here. That's fine. So we can proceed with this one as well. I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Do you have anything to add, Jason? So we're done. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting. Sherry and Doug, all in favor? That's carried. So we've got an hour and 10 minutes till our council meeting. Is there food? Yep. There's something to eat in there. I'm going to run home and do a couple of chores and come back.